What's good, guys? UFC 298 fight week, guys. The press conference just finishes Thursday. There's a lot of things that are going to be talked about, but I wanted to give a little brief breakdown on this guy's thread. I have two threads that I want to talk about. One of this thread, I have to give this guy credit, Alexander Volkara, France. This guy made an awesome, complete thread, and thank you for letting me use your clips, bro. This guy, he basically, let me just read the caption. Alex Volkanovski is set to defend his UFC featherweight title this week. Here's a closer look on why he mastered this domain and its role in his MMA strategies. I thought that this was a very complete thread. I'm gonna skip the first four clips because he just explains on breaks off the clinch and entering the clinch and the exchanges that happen after the clinch. And I thought that this was perfect. These clips are very notable on what can happen with Ilya when Ilya gets into the clinch and when he breaks off the clinch. So looking at the first clip, within the four main strategies in mind, we look at Volk, how he enters the clinch. And I thought that this was a very important clip. He uses a lot of strikes to enter the clinch. He always strikes and then enters into the clinch. He never just enters into the clinch. He sets it up. He always sets it up. He sets up his clinch. And this, in the last video, I was talking about how Max Holloway, the second fight, was one of his most difficult fights because he had to play catch-up.
Nice defense there, though, from Zombie.
This clip is one of the most notable clips because it explains how he enters. And Volk can also attain the clinch reactively, so how he reacts towards the clinch when they're clinching up on him. He's always, most of the time, the stronger man in the clinch. I thought that this fight was a masterclass.
That was beautiful timing right there. But look at the champion.
He always does a great job at the clinch, in the clinch exchanges, overwhelming his opponent, just like this one against Islam Makhachev. He breaks off of the clinch, attempts a single, and then pushes Islam against the fence. He has Yair on his back. Excellent master of control. Look how he controls the leg. He controls the leg, controls the wrist, and he's heavy. He's heavy against the fence. Earlier this week in my prediction video, I was favoring Ilya. But this is why I love Twitter, because these types of threads can expose you to the possibilities of, the levels to the game. And Volk has been in this game for a while, and he's one of those guys that is a master in the clinch. And I actually favor Volk in the clinch over Ilya. Let's look at this. Once the foe press along the fence, Volk follows strategy 1 of the clinch. He secures at least one underhook and keeps that foe along the fence until he loses control or willingly disengages. And I thought that this clip was awesome because it shows all the disengagements off of the clinch. And it also shows multiple fights where he uses this, where he lets go of the clinch purposely to land some shots.
Definitely no cut on his forehead, by the way.
Look right here. Max is trying to get the underhook.
And you see he's getting better.
And Max wasn't able to actually break off that clinch. But right here, while trapped along the fence, the foe must defend against Volk's strategy 2 in form of the persistent outside leg reaps.
Volkanovski constantly switching the attack. Yeah. The legs there again.
It looks as though the Korean Zombie is prepared to defend the leg kicks and counter.
Volkanovski trips, takes the bat. Very different.
So we're going to be able to see these exchanges. Definitely Volk is going to shoot. He's most definitely going to shoot in this fight. Conceded a takedown to Volk can be detrimental. Volk's stocky build can generate great force with ground punches, and his overall top control has improved substantially over the years. And this is an example of what he can do once the fight gets to the ground.
What happens to Jeremy Kennedy when he's on the bottom? In tight, in close, he can do damage. Doesn't need the range of a taller fighter. Oh!
Great ground and pound. Great, massive ground and pound. He takes advantage of the position.
With his arms, he's trying to keep Kennedy away. Looked like briefly Kennedy was taking leg lock.
If you've seen that fight, you know that that was some vicious ground and pound. This is the clip that I was excited for, that I was most likely what I based my whole well, this is the clip that kind of made me fall in love with this thread. It's basically the second Max Holloway fight in Abu Dhabi, and I thought that this fight was amazing. One interesting technique Volk has shown for strategy 2 in use of inside leg reaps with a body lock against Max Holloway in UFC 251. He hasn't used them in other fights, but shows how deep his tactics are in adverse situations. He's very good at adjusting in between rounds.
Better as the fight's progressing. Got the double underhooks here. Nicely done.
And
Very
this
good
is actually what
takedown.
won him the fight.
4-ounce gloves. These aren't boxing gloves. I mean, we know that, but still, the fact they're throwing with such frequency so often. Look at that. Down the stretch here, final seconds of this championship fight.
A lot of the
Late
clinch
takedown for
exchanges
Volkanovski.
lead to takedowns, and that's based on where Volk. That's how Volk can control where he wants the fight to go. While in the clinch, Volk only controls and attempts takedowns, but also inflicts damage. One of his older damage methods in use of knees to tie in to consistently wear on the foe, to tire him out.
Volkanovski's best win.
Positions against the fence.
These knees are very important as well because they slow down the fight. And one thing about Ilya is Ilya's gonna just go in there and he's gonna throw fireworks. I believe that this fight definitely goes over 1.5. So if you're looking at that, it's not a bad, or over 2.5. It's not a bad.
Those are 6 hard knees.
This fight against Aldo reminds me of the fight against Marab had against Aldo, where he held him against the clinch, and Marab wasn't able to take down Aldo as well. Aldo has excellent takedown defense.
They do hurt.
They start to dead the leg.
Yep, that's big. Those
Right
are
on
big.
the nerve. It's right on that ligament. Now look at Aldo. Look at what Aldo's trying to do now to stop it.
That's actually a very good. That's a very good clip. Then we have, despite abnormally short legs, Volk still makes use of the knees to the abdomen, which is like the stomach plex, the stomach area. As his career progressed, knees to the belly became more frequent, and knees to the thigh became more active. Arc, sorry. You see, he's very good at like landing the little cheeky knees. This is one of the knees that I like. It kind of reminds me of Henry Cejudo, when Henry Cejudo knocked out Dominic Cruz with his like little cheeky knee.
Good knee to the body lands for Volkanovski.
Finds himself chest to chest. Holloway's done a good job defending in this position, though.
He did it against Islam too. I thought that was his best performance. The Islam Makhachev won. Once Volk loses control in the clinch, he willingly breaks a prolonged clinch exchange, and an elbow or punch will sometimes follow.
Dana White's Tuesday night contender series.
Willingly, he broke the clinch, landed the right. Against Max Holloway, he breaks the clinch. Max Holloway's kind of getting outside of the clinch, lands a little shot. Against Korean Zombie, he lands another shot off the clinch, off the break of the clinch. And I actually think that majority of the fight is actually going to rely on the clinch exchanges. That third Max Holloway fight was a complete dominance. Transitional offense involving the clinch MMA can be seen as agglomeration, of the previous 3 strategies. One of Volk's clinch strategies involves mixing clinch striking and range striking at rapid pace. So he's able to hybrid. He's able to do both. I thought this fight against Chad Mendes shows that he faces adversity because he got dropped. No, he got wobbled. I think Volk's exchanges off of the clinch are they're one of his best attributes. If you actually study how he breaks off of the clinch and his hooks to the body and his little elbows, and then he gives them space to come to him, and then he attacks as well. He's very good at mixing his exchanges off of the clinch. The second notable example of this advanced strategy is his first fight versus Holloway. In round 5, Volk overwhelms Max Holloway by quickly striking at range within the clinch and off the break interchangeably. Round 5, by the way. He 5-0'd Max Holloway in this fight. He still is able to land over the top, even though Max Holloway is a taller fighter. And one thing that I didn't think was that, I didn't think he would be able to land a head kick on Max Holloway, but he actually is. He actually has he's thrown a head kick, and it's landed on Max Holloway before. And then he shoots. As you can see, he sets it up. He sets up his exchanges. So he hand fighting, hand fighting, hand fighting, hand fighting, hand fighting, hand fighting, throws a jab, and then goes immediately for the single leg. Max Holloway defends it, but his opposition is not totally based on whether he gets the takedown or not. It's to set up the strikes. Max Holloway throws an uppercut, it misses, then he shoots again. And that's the takedown that actually gets Max Holloway down. Oh, it actually just ends up... Oh, okay. Max Holloway has also great takedown defense, but it's also not only just to get the takedown to the floor, but just to set up the strikes. An example, Volk uses transitional offense within the clinch itself. Not only is the foe concerned about getting off the cage, but also avoiding the outside trip and inside punches, elbows, and knees to the thigh. Sorry, I did not mean to do that. Aldo's always a great example to see like how a fighter can do against Aldo, because Aldo's one of the GOATs. Aldo ended up losing a decision to Volkanovski. A similar principle follows that we saw in round 3, against Islam Makhachev. Volk threatens with the trip, set up his most effective punches of the round. I thought that this was one of the most convincing rounds, the 3rd round. I thought he won this round. Obviously, some people have it 4-1, but I thought it was 3-2 Islam. Let's rewind it.
That's really what's keeping him alive in these grappling situations.
He's very good in the clinch exchanges. Obviously, Islam Makhachev, he was a little depleted considering the weight cut and the less than 24-hour hydration. But I think Volkanovski, that was one of Volkanovski's best performances, other than the Max Holloway and Yair Rodriguez title bouts. The unique example transitional offense involves clinch strikes to force Yair to cover up and clear his hips for an easier takedown. Before this, there was a little bit of a head clash, but you can make what you want with it. I think Volk was going to win either way. He lands good right off the exchange. Yair actually ends up trying to throw a body kick. And Yair actually acknowledges his punch after. Look, he throws a body kick, and Volk attacks off of the body kick, and Volk knows he hurts him. And one thing that Volk has is a great finishing ability. To conclude Volk's clinch, it plays a role in 4 major MMA clinch strategies. He's not the gold standard for any of them, but his aptitude is evident, and anyone who engages in his clinch has to be mindful of his strategies. And I think this will, if Volk's going to win this fight, it's going to be based off the clinch, and it's going to be based off of the exchanges off the clinch. Here's how Ilya can do off the clinch. Volkanovski is expected to defend his title bout against Ilya Topuria at UFC 298. The false clinch game is primarily breaking away, and this domain holds the biggest observable tactical and strategic gap between the two. So he's saying that one of the biggest gaps between Volk and Ilya is the clinch exchanges. And I thought that this was one of the most notable threads. This was probably the best thread that I've ever seen on Twitter, because the way he put each segment of clips together was amazing. And if you guys can give this guy a follow on Twitter, that would be awesome. Bryce Mitchell he was able to get Ilya down, but he wasn't able to keep him there. But another thing too, they break off the clinch, and Ilya is open off of the clinch. Just one last thing that I wanted to go into was his left hook, Alexander Volkanovski's left hook. This is another thread by Fino. If you guys want to check him out, he does awesome, amazing threads on breakdowns. The rear foot loaded left hook. This is basically when he's off of the exchange. He's not planting his foot to land the left hook. Against Brian Ortega, he also faced adversity. He basically lands the hook when, at the same time that Brian Ortega throws the jab. So he's able to take one to give one. He can also throw a front loaded one extra reach, like here. Volk has he has 74-inch reach, I believe, which is wider than Ilya's 69-inch reach. So believe it or not, even though Volk's a shorter fighter, he's going to be the longer fighter. But he leads well with his hips, and that means he doesn't have to load it up, minimizing its tail, and that means he can throw it from his floating lead hand. So obviously my reading's not the best, but he probes his hand out, and it's less telegraphed when he goes into it. When he goes into it, it's less telegraphed. Brian Ortega's not able to see it as much when he hides it with his lead foot. This gives him versatility with his trajectory and timing, meaning he can fade back into slapping left hook, or when the opponent is waiting for a fast one, he can load it for more power and land it delaying the rhythm. One thing about fighting is about rhythm. Sometimes a fighter can expect when you're going to throw or exchange based on a rhythm, based on a certain dun 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 dun. So if you're able to break the rhythm, you're able to be unpredictable against your fighter. Korean Zombie was a notable performance considering he won almost every single round and it was a doctor stoppage. Korean Zombie is nothing like Ilya though on levels. A lot of Alex's success with the left hook has afforded him because of his great jab, as both punches naturally play off one of another. So this is kind of like the Josh Emmett when Josh Emmett throws an overhand and then he steps in and then throws another overhand. I think Volk just does it a little bit better. Here are the feints, the stepping jab only to land a leaping hook into the right hand. You see, it's kind of his like he's more defensive than Josh Emmett, and I think he does it a little bit better than Josh Emmett. Obviously, he's the greatest featherweight of all time. As I mentioned previously, Volk often fights with a floating lead hand for jabbing purposes, and he adjusted his left hook for it. Even when loading it, he has seen benefits from its versatility. For example, here, reacts off the fly, intercepts zombie level change with it. No arm windup from the floating hand wide motion. So he makes a great point. It's hard to telegraph that left hook. Very hard to telegraph his left hook based on his stance. And here we have, and that translates to his left hook in combination. Here he loads in with the left hook counter after the right hand to the body, but he throws a long punch without much arc to sneak inside of Ortega's guard. So Volk is most likely considered a grappler, but he's on the same page as Taporia, honestly. Like, started off grappling and then they get comfortable in the striking department, but I think he's more of a complete striker than Ilya. Especially considering the different types of physiques that he has to face. Islam, Yair, Max Holloway, Brian Ortega, they're all different types of physiques and different types of strategies that are up against him. He has never had the same fight twice. Volk's lead hand is one of his best weapons in MMA, and has to do with the application of versatility in both of his jabs into his left hook. They might not produce the big finishes often, but they do a lot of the heavy lifting during his fights. I'll leave you guys with this clip off of Volk throwing an inside kick off of the pivoting left hook because I think it's cool as fuck. And I saw this clip and I think this is the last clip of the thread. This clip was awesome because it shows that Volk throws two. He's able to throw one and two. He's not gonna just throw one dun dun one dun dun. He's gonna break the rhythm. He's gonna do something, and that's something that I've never seen Ilya do. This obviously, a lot of people give him credit. This is phenomenal observation and work, and I think so too. A lot of people ask for the notes, but he did a great job with the notes. And if you look at the odds right now, Volk is minus 125, so a lot of people are betting him because they believe that he'll get the job done. If you are watching this breakdown and you have any sort of like ideas or any sort of like exchanges that might break, like even if it's not in the clinch, just write it down. Let me know what you think because this is one of the most closest odds for a championship bout, and it almost feels like if you watch the press conference, Ilya snatched Volk's belt off of his hand, and if we can recall of a time where this like can remind you of something, it reminds you of when McGregor snatched the belt off of Jose Aldo, and McGregor was coming off of some notable wins, but he was just basically basing his, he got the title shot, but he beat Chad Mendes, and a lot of people were wondering on whether he's the real deal or not. And he was also undefeated in the featherweight division before his fight with Jose Aldo, and he got in Jose Aldo's head. But I think it's the other way around here. I think when Volk showed up with the grandpa suit, which was pretty funny, and the crowd booing Ilya, considering I thought Ilya would be the fan favorite. I think Volk has a very solid chance, and I give him more of a chance than I did give him on Tuesday, I believe. And if you guys like this video, guys, drop a like, guys. Let me know what you guys think. There's some great odds for this fight. Honestly, Volk, Volk as a slight favorite is not bad at all. You know, we have Paulo Costa at a plus 190. We have Jeff Neal. I can't wait for this Jeff Neal and Gary fight. My most anticipated fights of this week is the Hernandez versus Anthony and the Kopylov, the Roman. Sorry, I said that wrong. Anthony Fluffy Hernandez versus Roman Kopylov, my most anticipated fight of this week. And then we got Gary and Jeff Neal. I'm mostly interested in these two fights. I'm willing to think on what you guys think is gonna actually end up happening. And guys, leave a comment below, guys, and drop a like, guys. I'll see you guys in the next one. God bless. Let's go. The best is blessed, baby.